What's going on, you guys? The Oakland Raiders have won their opener, start the year 1-0 over the Denver Broncos. First things first, I got to give credit where credit is due. The Raiders did enough to win this game, but because this is a winning video, I will talk about the negatives first. The negatives to this game really was the fourth quarter. It felt like they sat on the lead, got really conservative, way too conservative when it's really just a two-possession game. In football, 17 points is the magic number, of course. 3-possession game, you want to be up by 17 late in the game. Whenever you're up by 2 possessions, you can't just completely sit on it. That's what it felt like. They kind of let them hang around. And they did get the first down when they needed to, but I just saw some lapses in there on defense, and so that fourth quarter was soft. The other negative, Trayvon Mullins. I didn't like what I saw from him. I hope Conley's all right, because that injury is why Mullins had to came in. Mullins right now was a raw cornerback, and it showed out there. He got destroyed by Joe Flacco late in the game. You might say that was garbage time, but yeah, Mullins is a guy who's got to be fighting for his job too, and who knows what's going to happen there. But yeah, those are the things I would point out that are negatives on this game. As for the positives, almost everything else. Credit, once again, to where it's due. Derek Carr looked very efficient. This was like Rich Gannon playing. Conservative, high percentage passes, West Coast offense. And the other guy you got to give credit to is Josh Jacobs. Living up to the hype. This is, of course, one of the pieces traded for Khalil Mack. Josh Jacobs lived up to the hype, and that's a guy that fits John Gruden's offense. He wants a power running back. Gruden's offense is run the ball, West Coast offense, conservative throwing, but you got to be able to run the ball. And you got to have a big power back who can be the bell cow. We're in an era where obviously it's throw the ball first. Nobody really runs the ball first anymore. And if there are running backs, it's usually by committee. They don't really have that bell cow everyday running back like Adrian Peterson was in his prime years. Or, we can talk about, was it Le'Veon Bell at one point to take. There's very few of those out there right now, where there's one guy taking all the carries. But Josh Jacobs, I don't think his rushing stats justify what he did this game. He really killed it out there. Some of those plays he was making and some of the vision, he's got a great physical big body. And what really makes it even more valuable when they took him is that he didn't have a lot of mileage on his body from college. He didn't run the ball as much at Alabama. That's what's also pretty amazing. So Josh Jacobs, a big gold star in my book. I like what I saw there. And even Tyrell Williams, the new free agent signing. Not every free agent signing is going to be splashy, but he had a pretty good debut with Derek Carr. And once again, they looked a lot smarter on offense for 3 quarters. Just fourth quarter was meh. I didn't like what I saw, but they did make the play when it counted. This overall was a textbook John Gruden game. Make sure they control the football, have good time of possession, grind it out, and keep the defense off the field. Essentially keep the opposing defense on the field. That's what they did. And I don't know if that's going to work against every opponent, but the Denver Broncos are a bad team, or at least a mediocre team at best. They're not going to do anything, guys. In the big picture, okay? The Broncos, I've been talking about this over and over again with the Broncos, but they have an ownership problem. If anyone hasn't already known, unless you live under a rock, their owners are fighting for power. They have a trust. Pat Bowlen dies, but even before he died, in his will, it was already settled that he gave the ownership to a trust of 3 guys. And Pat Bowlen's family, his kids from different wives, are fighting for power. It's a whole, fighting for inheritance. We've seen that with families trying to do that. Well, there's a lot of people involved in Bowlen's family and trying to fight for that power and decisions from the trust. And until that gets resolved, that team is not going to do anything except mediocrity until told otherwise. So, yeah, is this a good win? Sure. It's good to not suck, basically. The Raiders, at least, are better than the Broncos. But the Broncos, as I said, are not going to do a whole lot in the big picture. Nobody's scared of Joe Flacco. John Elway cannot draft a quarterback. You got, what? The only thing he's done is sign Peyton Manning. He hasn't done anything else when it comes to drafting a quarterback. Brock Osweiler, Trevor Siemian, Paxton Lynch, and now you have Drew Lock, who I think is out for the year. We don't know what the hell he can do as a quarterback guru. As a front office, he hasn't done anything. He's had Wade Phillips coach a great defense at one point in the career when they won that Super Bowl, and that's it. He hasn't done things in building his own team. or at least finding his own quarterback. So, yes, the Raiders had to win this game. I felt that this was a must-win because you got the Chiefs and the Vikings next on your schedule. Those are two teams who are contending for their division, respectively. So, you can't afford to go 0-3. It's good to see that the Raiders showed up tonight, but they can't sit on it, okay? That's the bitter taste that leaves me in my mouth. For me, it's just, all right, they got past the first test. You got to avoid all the hoopla and drama regarding Antonio Brown. Winning will pretty much cure that. But I don't know about where this team is. We don't know what this team is. We just know what their identity is in being a West Coast offense, of being conservative and run the ball. That's Gruden. But well, if other teams stop the run, this team is screwed. Okay? So, yes, it is good to be 1-0. I'm happy of that. But I am not going to be saying this team is back or this team's a contender. It's just the Raiders are there, and it's nice to know they're not in the cellar, which is where the Broncos are in the division. So, a win is a win. They did execute where they needed to, and especially on third down, to ice the game. I mean, last year they failed in Denver, and on third down it was a dropped pass by a fullback who's not with the team anymore. But this time, the execution much better. It feels like they learned from it. Good to know they closed out this game. Just they got to stop sitting on it. It really bothers me when the Raiders have shown they can't play with a lead, and then they sit on it for too long, and then the other team just comes back and they play a 50-minute game. They got to stop over that. But Josh Jacobs, Derek Carr, if they play like they did today, I can be optimistic for the rest of the year on how those two are going to look. But it's just one game. This is, I said, one game. Who knows what's going to lie ahead? The Chiefs are going to be a big test to see where this team really is. If they go flat, if this defense is bad or not, we don't know. But the defense looked good today for 3 quarters, and I give credit where credit's due. Also, the Broncos are also not very good. So we'll see you guys next time. I'm happy they won, but let me know what you thought about this game. I'll see you guys later.